My wife thought her secret was safe until the wrong email arrived. If someone had told me 3 years ago that a single email would destroy my marriage, expose a secret worth millions, and turn my entire life upside down, I would have laughed. Not because my wife Emily seemed perfect, but because I trusted her completely. My name is Daniel. I'm 38 years old, and until recently, I thought I had the kind of life people envied. A successful career, a beautiful house in Seattle, a wife I'd been married to for 11 years, and a daughter who meant everything to me. From the outside, we looked like the perfect family. But sometimes the most dangerous lies are the ones hidden behind perfect smiles. And I was about to learn that the hard way. It started on a Tuesday morning, nothing unusual. I was sitting in my home office drinking coffee before a video meeting when my phone buzzed. A new email notification appeared. At first I ignored it. I get hundreds of emails every week. But then I noticed something strange. The sender wasn't someone I recognized. And the subject line simply said, "Payment confirmation, phase 3 complete." I almost deleted it. Then I saw the recipient. It wasn't addressed to me. It was addressed to Emily, my wife. The problem was, it had somehow landed in my inbox. I figured it was a mistake, maybe spam, maybe someone entered the wrong address. Curiosity got the better of me. So I opened it. And that's when my life changed. The email contained a short message. "Congratulations, the final transfer has been completed successfully. Total amount, $2,450,000. As discussed, no further communication will be sent." Attached below were financial documents, wire transfers, bank statements, property records, and one signature, Emily's. I stared at the screen. My heart started pounding. $2,450,000. My wife wasn't rich, at least not that I knew. Neither of us came from wealthy families. So where had that money come from? At first, I thought it had to be fraud, identity theft, some kind of scam. But then, I noticed something else. The documents stretched back nearly 5 years. Years before that email arrived. Years before today. Which meant one thing. Whatever this was, Emily had been hiding it for a very long time. I called her immediately. No answer. I texted. Nothing. An hour later, she finally replied. "Busy right now. What's up?" I stared at the message. For the first time in our marriage, I didn't know if I could trust her answer. So I said nothing. Instead, I started digging. And what I found was worse than anything I imagined. That afternoon, I took a personal day from work. I drove downtown and met an old college friend named Marcus. Marcus worked in corporate investigations. We hadn't spoken in years, but he owed me a favor. When I showed him the documents, his expression changed immediately. "Where did you get these?" "Wrong email." He looked back at the paperwork, then at me. "These aren't fake." A chill ran through my body. "What do you mean?" "I mean, whoever sent this wasn't lying." He tapped the property records. "These companies are real. The transfers are real. The money is real." I swallowed hard. "So what exactly am I looking at?" Marcus leaned back. And then he said something I'll never forget. "Your wife owns assets worth several $1,000,000. I laughed. Not because it was funny, because it sounded impossible. But Marcus wasn't laughing. He spent the next 20 minutes explaining what he was seeing. Shell companies, real estate investments, holding accounts, private partnerships. The kind of financial structure wealthy people use to hide ownership. Everything connected back to one person, Emily, my wife. The woman who claimed she barely understood investing. The woman who always said we couldn't afford expensive vacations. The woman who argued about grocery prices. She wasn't broke, she was secretly rich. And she'd hidden it from me for years. I drove home in complete silence. Questions flooded my mind. Why hide the money? Why lie? Why build an entire secret life? When Emily came home that evening, she greeted me with a smile. The same smile I'd seen for 11 years. But now it looked different. Fake. Carefully practiced. Dangerous. "How was your day?" she asked. I studied her face, waiting for guilt, waiting for fear, waiting for something. Instead, she kissed my cheek and walked into the kitchen, as if nothing had happened, as if my world hadn't just exploded. That's when I realized something. Emily thought her secret was still safe. She had no idea a wrong email had arrived. And for the first time, I decided not to tell her. Not yet. Because if my wife was hiding millions of dollars from me, there had to be a reason. And I intended to find out exactly what it was, no matter how ugly the truth became. What I didn't know was that the money wasn't the biggest secret, not even close. Because buried beneath those financial records was a betrayal so devastating, it would make the hidden fortune seem insignificant. That night, I barely slept. Emily lay beside me, breathing peacefully. At least she looked peaceful. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw those documents. The transfers, the properties, the hidden companies, the millions of dollars. But one question kept repeating in my head. Why? Why would a woman hide that much money from her husband? It didn't make sense. Unless the money itself wasn't the real secret. The next morning, I made a decision. I was going to keep pretending everything was normal. No accusations, no confrontation, no warnings. If Emily was hiding something, she'd eventually lead me straight to it. For the next 2 weeks, I became an actor in my own marriage. I smiled. I made dinner. I asked about her day. And every night, I watched, carefully. The first clue appeared sooner than I expected. It happened on a Thursday evening. Emily was in the shower when her phone lit up on the kitchen counter. Normally, I never touched her phone. Never felt the need. But these weren't normal circumstances anymore. The screen displayed a notification. A contact named AJ. The message preview read, "Don't worry, he still doesn't know." My stomach dropped. For a second, I couldn't breathe. He still doesn't know? Know what? I grabbed the phone. The message disappeared before I could open it. Face ID locked the screen. But I had already seen enough. Someone was discussing me. And Emily was involved. That night, I couldn't stop thinking about AJ. Friend? Business partner? Lawyer? Lover? Every possibility felt worse than the last. The following day, I hired a private investigator. Something I never imagined I'd do. His name was Victor. Former law enforcement. Professional, discreet, expensive. When I explained the situation, he listened quietly. Then asked a simple question. Do you want the truth, even if it destroys your marriage? I hesitated, then nodded. Yes. Victor looked at me carefully. Most people say yes. They usually regret it. 3 weeks later he called. The moment I heard his voice, I knew something was wrong. Daniel, we need to meet. Not discuss, not talk, meet. Those were the words people used when the truth couldn't be delivered over the phone. We met at a small coffee shop outside the city. Victor slid a thick envelope across the table. Then he said 4 words. Your wife isn't alone. My heart started racing. Inside the envelope were photographs. Dozens of them. Emily entering office buildings, restaurants, hotels, private meetings. And in almost every photo, the same man. A tall man in his early 40s. Dark hair, expensive suits, confident smile. I stared at him. Who is he? Victor sighed. Aaron Jacobs. The initials hit me instantly. AJ, the name from the text message. I felt sick. Are they having an affair? Victor paused, then shook his head. Honestly, I don't think so. For the first time that day, I felt a small amount of relief, but it vanished immediately. Then what is it? Victor handed me another document. The answer was printed right there. Aaron Jacobs wasn't Emily's lover. He was her brother. I blinked, then blinked again. Brother? Emily didn't have a brother. At least that's what she told me. For 11 years, she'd claimed she was an only child. No siblings, no extended family, no one. But according to Victor's investigation, Aaron Jacobs was her biological brother. And they'd been working together for years. I stared at the document. Nothing made sense anymore. Why would someone hide their own brother? What kind of secret required that level of deception? Victor wasn't finished. He opened another folder. And that's when everything got worse. Inside were court records, old legal filings, probate documents, inheritance paperwork. All connected to one person. Emily's father. A man she claimed died broke when she was young. Another lie. The records showed he wasn't broke at all. In fact, he'd owned a highly successful manufacturing company, one worth tens of millions of dollars. When he died, the company had been sold. The proceeds were placed into a family trust. Beneficiaries: Emily Jacobs, Aaron Jacobs, equal ownership. My hands started shaking. The hidden money, the shell companies, the secret fortune. It all made sense now. But one thing still didn't. Why hide it from me? If Emily inherited money before we married, it was legally hers. I would have understood that. I never cared about her wealth. So why build an elaborate web of lies? Victor looked uncomfortable. Then he handed me the final page. A printed email. One that changed everything. It was written by Emily, sent to Aaron 4 years earlier. I recognized her writing style immediately. The message was short, painfully short, and devastating. It read, "Daniel can never know the truth. If he finds out about the trust, he'll eventually find out about Lily." My heart stopped. Lily, our daughter, my daughter. The little girl I'd raised since birth. The little girl who called me Dad. The little girl I loved more than life itself. Why was her name in that email? I read it again, and again, trying desperately to find another explanation. There wasn't one. Victor finally spoke. "Daniel," I looked up. His expression told me everything before he said a word. "The DNA records I found suggest there's a very strong possibility Lily isn't biologically yours." The world went silent. I couldn't hear the coffee machines, couldn't hear the people talking, couldn't hear anything, only those words. Lily isn't biologically yours. I felt like someone had ripped my heart out. 11 years of marriage, 8 years raising a child, and suddenly, nothing felt real. I left the coffee shop without saying goodbye. I drove for nearly 3 hours. No destination, no plan, just driving. Trying to process a reality I never asked for. The money didn't matter anymore. The lies about her brother didn't matter. The hidden inheritance didn't matter. Only one thing mattered. Was Lily really my daughter? And if she wasn't, who was her real father? I spent the entire night staring at the ceiling. The answer terrified me, but I knew I had to find it, because somewhere inside Emily's web of secrets was the truth. And whether it saved my family or destroyed it forever, I was about to uncover it.